Hi everyone, it's Don and I hope you're having a fantastic day. Well, we got some good news in Skagway, Alaska, and yeah, boy oh boy, we have another cruise ship with another case of 100 cases or more of COVID on their ship in Australia, but we also have a feud going on by two journalists down there, and it's like it's coming to blows. So first story, we have Skagway, Alaska, where that rock slide happened and took out a chunk of the pier as well as the fence along the side and left boulders. It also hit one of the cruise ships but didn't cause very much damage. It was very superficial. But wow, it happened at a point where had it happened a half hour to 45 minutes later, that area might have been covered with tourists. And the rocks that came down there would have done some huge damage. So we got really, really lucky that nobody was injured during that rock slide. So the timing was just right. Well, they've reopened the White Pass Railway area from that, and they're reopening that dock as well, which is one of the docks that the larger cruise ships use to pull into port. So that's good news because there's a lot of cruise ships trying to get into Skagway, Alaska. However, there's a lot of them that can't make speed and are skipping ports. And guess what? That seems to be the one that they're skipping, probably because of the port also not being too readily available for some of these larger ships. So we'll see what happens now, what ports those other ships that can't make speed. I think there's 5 of them now in Alaska. Wow, crazy, isn't it? Crazy. But good news, the pier is up and running. Just goes to show you, wherever you are, folks, wherever you are, always keep your wits about you. You're walking around a mountainside and it's a steep slope above you. Listen for the crack and the falling of rocks. Keep an eye up in the hills once in a while. You're walking through a path in Alaska. Keep an eye out for bears. You don't want to startle a bear coming across the path. And a lot of people just go into vacation mode and don't pay a whole lot of attention to what they're doing. Just like the gentleman in Italy that I reported on the other day that fell into the volcano of all places and didn't fare too well. Luckily, had he fallen just a little bit further, he would have fallen to his death instead of just injury. So yeah, just a heads up everybody. I was at a place in Athens yesterday and there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of tourists all over the place in the Acropolis. But there's this one place we went to that you can crawl up and walk and take great pictures and everything. But the rock there is like ice. It's slippery as heck. I have really good walking suction shoes and I was slipping crazy, and there's no fence up there and you're high above, and if you fall off of there you're falling hundreds of feet to the ground. And it was, yeah, some people were walking right up to the edge. You crawl up these rocks to get to the picture, but that's not the hard part. The hard part's coming down those rocks because they are slippery, like I said, like ice. So yeah, wherever you're going, keep an eye out, be careful. Because I saw this one young girl yesterday, couldn't have been any more than say 18 years old, and she was just walking down in these flimsy sandal type shoes, and she must have slipped 3 different times on those rocks, and the last time she just missed her head hitting one of those rock points really, really hard. And so I got really nervous for people up there, and yeah, don't take a risk. Just keep an eye out wherever you are. Tip of the day. Okay, we're back in Australia, everybody. But before we get there, let me just invite you to hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. Keeps you up to date with everything cruising, everything from the new protocols to what's happening with COVID, to the cruise ships that are breaking down, to the cruise ships that are reopening, to the ports that are changing protocols, and the brand new ships like the Celebrity Beyond that I'm on right now. Again, doesn't cost a single thing. It just notifies you, hey, Don has another video, maybe you'd like to watch it. That's all it really does, except it really does tell YouTube people like cruising videos and that shares it to more people. And that's how the channel keeps growing. And again, I'd really appreciate it. And thank you again to everybody who's already subscribed. Okay, back to Australia. We all know we had the Coral Princess, had 112 passengers, crew members on board test positive, and 4 passengers. Since then, I believe another 10 passengers have tested positive on the cruise ship. Majority of it was crew members. Now we have the P&O Pacific Explorer, is now heading back to Sydney, and it has over 100 people on board as well that has COVID. And I can pretty much tell you right now the cause. Would you like to know the cause? It seems that Australia is going about the honor system there, where they recommend you take an antigen test before getting on the ship, but you don't have to show proof. It's just, we're going to take your word for it. And you know darn well, like I stated the other day, most people, if they're having symptoms or feeling well, are not going to give up their cruise vacation. They're going to lie. A vast majority, because most people don't know they have COVID. I'll be honest, when I had COVID, I had no idea I had it. So yeah, the only way to find it is to test. And if you're not going to require the test proof, don't ask for a test then. Just open up cruising altogether, because the honor system is a useless system. Let's face it, right? That's like going to your tax. If the government came to you and said, we're just going to just send us how much tax you think you owe. I guarantee you the country would be bankrupt within a week. So yeah, honor system's not working. They gotta either check for it or scrap it all together and just go with the consequences. But P&O is doing exactly what they're supposed to do. They've isolated people on board who had to stay on board. They have brought people and made arrangements to get them home if they lived in the area when they arrived in Sydney. And if not, they put them up into a hotel covered by the cruise line. So they're doing exactly what they're expected to do. The vast majority of people show no symptoms again whatsoever. Surprise, surprise. In fact, people are staying right now in Australia that the influenza going around right now in Australia is far more severe than anyone who has caught COVID recently. I don't know. That's just what's being reported out there from some of the news media. And speaking of the news media, there are 2 Aussie radio hosts, podcasters that are in a heck of a battle with each other. One of them came out and was really hard on the Coral Princess, saying that cruising is dangerous, blah, 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 it should be shut down. Another one came out and said, hey, look, we got to live with this now. It's really not a danger. It's something we should be just living with like we are at home, not picking on the cruise line. It doesn't really pose a big danger to the rest of Australia. And then the other journalist accused him of being paid off by the cruise lines, and now that one is threatening to sue the other one for defamation, and they are on the same network, folks. The jokes are writing themselves. Unbelievable, that people get in each other's face. One calling the other person COVID bedwetter kind of thing. The crisis, always saying it's a crisis, always going to the worst. Everything is so, you're gonna die. It's so dire. It's all this. And the other one saying, guys, the rest of the world is kind of living with things now. In fact, the government in Australia is now debating whether to go from 7-day quarantine period to a 5-day quarantine period, much like the rest of the world. I was in Amsterdam, it was a 5-day period. United States, a 5-day period. Most of the UK, a 5-day period. So they were looking at it, and it's funny how people get so divisive and so divided. But you gotta wonder, the ones that are really, really advocating more lockdowns, advocating going into masking again, advocating shutting down the cruise lines. What's in it for them But I always go to the media when I'm looking at the media and I say, wow, that's really good for headlines. Isn't it good for clicks? And it seems like the more dire you call things, the more people want to listen to your story. And so I really honestly think a lot of that's going on right now in Australia. Well, I hope you appreciate this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Want to see more tips, more tricks, more travel vlogs from around the world? Hit the subscribe button. Till next time, have yourself a safe and a great vacation.